All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome. How are we doing today? Good, 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 good. All right, guys. So if you've been to some of my audience alchemy events before, you've seen different aspects of how we do virtual events, right? It could be anything from your virtual stage presence, right? How you show up on camera, how your audio sounds, how you frame yourself, to leveraging the tools within the platform, right? Your polling questions, your chat prompts, your breakout rooms, and all of the things, right? We'll talk a little bit more about those later. Today is designed to be almost an all-inclusive, right? I'm going to try and take you guys kind of tip to tail about all of the things that you should think about when you're doing a public virtual event. Now, obviously, there are quite literally hundreds of action items that you can do, and I won't be able to talk about every fine detail, but I do want to give you as much as possible today. Okay. So it takes approximately 7 seconds for someone to subconsciously begin to judge whether or not they like you. Okay, whether that's in person or virtual. And in just the time that I've been talking to you now, I know most of you, but you may have already decided whether or not you would have a virtual coffee with me, if you would go so far as to do business with me. Or perhaps if we didn't know each other, you have already decided that I'm full of shit and you're going to check out and start watching cat videos and maybe clean out your email inbox. But you're here, right? I want you guys to think about that for a second, because if you're presenting in person, we are going to wake up in the morning and take the time to take that shower, perhaps shave, maybe comb our hair, brush our teeth, pick an outfit that makes us feel pretty confident. Right? We're going to do all of those things because we want to make a good first impression, because we want to show up properly, right? Maybe we're even going to show up early because it's a presentation, right? Check out our room a little bit, do that mic check, be sure our presentation is working, et cetera, right? We're going to do all of those things to make sure that we show up well and we give that good presentation, right? We make that good first impression. But when we show up to do the exact same activities here in virtual, oftentimes people will show up as they are, right? We don't go the extra mile. Our energy level is oftentimes a little bit lower, right? Our excitement is not quite as enthusiastic. We're forced to sit down if you don't have that standing desk, so we don't engage our body language to its fullest. Again, kind of going back to what I stated earlier, our camera angles aren't quite right, maybe. Our audio doesn't sound quite as crisp as it could. It feels a little bit weird. Maybe we come off as awkward, or at worst, unprepared, right? And think about that for a minute. How many hours a day are you personally spending in virtual? So those of you who are on camera, let's do a quick physical poll, okay? If you are spending 90 to 100% of your day in virtual meetings, networkings, you're doing presentations, delivering client, work. If you're doing about 90 to 100% of your day in virtual, raise your hand. Okay, so there's 3, 4, 5 of us. 5 out of 10 in the room, almost 100% of our day. Okay, so if you fall between 50 and 75%, raise your hand. 25 to 50. Steve, okay. 25 to 50, Joe, okay. All right. So that pretty much covers everyone in the room. So with that in mind, if we are spending that much of our time in this space, shouldn't we be prepared? Shouldn't we show up as well as we can? We do want to make a good first impression. We should not approach virtual as the second option. It needs to be a primary strategy if it is going to be a strategy that you employ, because how you are perceived here in this environment is how you could be received out in the real world, right? Perception is reality, fortunately and unfortunately, right? Depending on the perspective. But you need to be smart about how you show up here. And Clara says 25 to 50 probably for her, right? So I want you guys to think about that. Think about how you show up, how you are engaging with the platform in and of itself. Have you ever done a deep dive into the bowels and settings of Zoom to truly understand all the things that it's capable of? And if you haven't, definitely recommend that you take the time to do that, be it Zoom, Teams, GoToMeeting, WebEx, Adobe, whatever platform you're using, know it as well as you can. Okay. So Shane, go ahead and launch the poll. Just real quick, I want to get a kind of pulse of the room. So how confident are you in your ability to run a virtual event on your own and leveraging as a marketing platform LinkedIn, right? Do you absolutely feel like you could do it? No problem, easy peasy. Feel like you could probably figure it out, maybe a couple little stumbling blocks, and nope, that's why you are here, is to talk about that exact topic. So we got 6 and 9. Give another few seconds. We're we're pretty evenly split at this point. Of the 8 who've responded, half of you think you could absolutely do it on your own. And you likely can, to be honest with you. It's not rocket science, guys. This isn't brain surgery, nor is it any form of rocket surgery or brain science. Okay. Oftentimes it is strictly just understanding the platform that you are using, whether we're talking about Zoom, LinkedIn as the delivery space, maybe it's your email platform, right? Understanding the tools that you have to work with and how to leverage them for your virtual event is the key to all of it. So with that said, virtual events, in my opinion, are one of the easiest ways to sell in a one-to-many approach. Okay. It allows you to connect with your ideal clients when you do it right. So to be clear, when I say virtual events, I'm talking about things like this: a masterclass, webinars, workshops, roundtables, fireside chats, global town halls, challenges, right? They have so many different names, even your one-on-one networking. So again, welcome to Audience Alchemy. And again, if you guys don't know me, which I think I know everybody in the room, I'm the owner of Insignia Training Partners, Bernie DeSantis. We are virtual event consultants, and I'm also a training broker. So I am helping my clients to design, develop, and deploy training, and we specialize in the virtual space. I've got Shane here helping me out today. So Shane, come off mute, say hi real quick, wave so everybody can see you.
That's me.
So he'll be running the technology behind the scenes for us. And obviously, if you guys run into any challenges throughout, reach out to him. So my team and I, we have about 2 decades of experience in L&D. And again, we help our clients to design, develop, and deliver training programs and specialize virtually. Most of our work is with people like each of you, right? They are trainers in their own right. They are speakers, they are coaches, they are consultants. They're some sort of a subject matter expert who looks at virtual events as a key to their business development and or business delivery strategy. But they want or need help doing them right. Right. So today I'm not here to sell you guys anything. You all know what I do and you all know how to connect with me. The only purpose is that perhaps this conversation here publicly leads to another conversation privately, right? Give you an opportunity to speak with me and explore the world of virtual events. So if it does make sense to have that deeper conversation after today, I would obviously love to. If you're going to hang out till the end, and I hope that you do, I actually have a gift for you guys, a Merry Christmas Hanukkah Kwanzaa thing, right? For whatever, background or faith you follow. But I'll be giving you guys a custom GPT AI tool to be able to brainstorm titles and descriptions for your virtual events. That's one of the things that I struggle with, is just creating with a compelling title. So I'll give you guys that at the end. Now, I'm not sharing slides at all. We're going to stay right here in the Brady Bunch gallery mode the entire time. So if you're not already in that view, you're only seeing me really big on screen, go up to view in the top right corner of your Zoom, click on gallery, and get in the Brady Bunch view. So you see the tiles, you can see everybody. Yeah, thanks, Shane. I appreciate that. So this is your first tip of the day, guys. Whatever type of event you're doing, right? Obviously, it's more than one-on-one with someone else. Stay in gallery mode or the Brady Bunch view as much as possible. Come back to it as often as you can and makes sense. Okay. You want to do that because people are freaking tired of just the little floating head in the top of your presentation. You need to change it up from time to time. Yes, you may need to have slides to present your content, but don't stay in slideshow mode for an hour. Okay, people get tired of that look. And you want to be able to see your audience. You want to be able to see if they are engaging with you, if they're nodding their head, right? You want those visual cues. So try to stay here in this gallery mode as much as possible, because when we have a deck, we tend to read from the deck. Okay. And ideally, you don't want to be reading from your deck as much as possible. I have my notes and I am going to reference them, but no deck today. So let's start by setting the stage, right? Again, thank you guys for spending some time with me today. So I want to talk about some of the challenges of running virtual events, right? We can talk about some of the results that any of you have had if you're already running them yourself, and I'll talk about some of the results that we're getting. And again, give that gift at the end. But Question for you guys. Feel free to come off of mute. What is the number one stated fear for all of humanity?
Fear itself.
Mm,
Public speaking.
Sorry.
public speaking. Although
Good
fear
job, John.
is yeah, one of those big ones. Yeah. But it is public speaking, right? No one wants to feel unprepared or embarrassed in front of a crowd. The truth is, most people would rather be the person in the casket at a funeral than the person at the pulpit giving the eulogy. Like, the fear is real in that sense. Now, obviously, for all of you, I'll assume you have conquered that fear, right? Or you're ready to face it, if you will, if you're getting on the virtual stage, getting on camera. But let me ask you this question. If you are planning to do virtual events, what is it that you're hoping to get out of or accomplish by doing virtual events? Right? You can pop it in the chat if you want to, but please come off mute. There's only, 11 of us in the room today.
I'd say generating leads.
Generating leads. Absolutely, Marlo. That's usually the number one answer, right? If you don't have a client that you're delivering for and they're paying you to deliver, you're doing it because you're trying to gain clients. What else? Mike says, put my coaching skills on display. Absolutely, right?
Yep.
You want to show a little bit of thought leadership, right? You want to get people to have the opportunity to experience you a little bit before maybe committing to doing business with you. Fantastic. What else?
Facilitating a paid masterclass.
Value.
Let's see. I heard two at the same time. So Joe, let's go with you first. Okay. And then.
So I was saying just facilitating that paid attendance class with clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So driving attendance to other paid events as well. Okay.
Provide value.
Glenn, right. Provide value. Again, you want to get exposure in the marketplace, provide value out to the marketplace. Hopefully you guys are going to take value from what I'm doing today. By providing that value out to the marketplace, it's going to resonate with the people who are wanting to hear that message, right? Who are wanting to engage with what it is that you talk about. And they're all good reasons to do a virtual event. So let me ask this question. If you're not already doing virtual events to drive business, what's holding you back? Or if you are doing virtual events, what challenges are you seeing that you'd like to overcome or perhaps explore today?
I would say I run virtual events once a month. It's a workshop, a storytelling workshop, and we do well. You get some people, oh, I already know this, and then they suck. And then other people have a great story. It's like, oh, that's pretty good, but let me show you what you should have done. And then but that's the fun part of managing it. As far as the structure of it, we do 2 breakout rooms. So a little bit of instruction. We practice in a group, go out to breakout rooms. They practice. I do some eavesdropping. They come back, they report. So tell me, you pull one volunteer and then you do a little bit of live thing, tweak the conflict of the story. And, oh, wow. Send them out to a second one. Once we come back from that second breakout room, there's a balance between, okay, what do we do next? What I want to do is put my offer out there. My low end is a $50 product. I discount to $40, big savings. I point out, I say, listen, I don't get rich off of $40. You don't retire on the $10 savings. Just want to give you the incentive now to continue going. Sometimes I sell quite a few of them. Sometimes I sell one. Sometimes I don't sell any. It's a matter of that transition of sequencing it the right way. So you want to give them feedback on what they just did, get some volunteers to speak, and then keep it between the rails. I want to get that offer there, when to put that offer in there. So the 2 offers are, 1, get on the calendar, and 2, make a purchase. I'm not signing up any high ticket people straight from that, but you get them on the calendar.
You likely won't be able to sell high ticket directly from your event, but a lower entry point, that $50 one, that's fantastic, right? That is absolutely something that you want to make sure that you're offering in the event. But higher ticket should always be done in a more of a discovery call, consultative type of way, right? You want to build that relationship. Very rarely will somebody click on the button and spend $5,000 on event on a whim.
I'll let you know. This year is looking good.
I mean, we all hope it happens. We all hope it happens.
I don't want it that way, because then they don't know what they're getting. But I got 3 calls to action after that second breakout. We got 3 calls to action. 1 is make a purchase. 2, get on the calendar, and 3, we do a LinkedIn posting party, because that's where the real work. That's where the real payoff is. Somebody will put a story up there. It's completely. And they'll put it in their LinkedIn. They'll tag me. I give them feedback on that story. And
Nice.
that is how I sign up clients. Now you've heard it here. You're recording it. It's out to the world. Oh, damn.
We've got Mike's secret sauce right here.
Right.
So there's two things that you described in there that really stood out to me. One, the word you mentioned, sequence, right? You got to make sure that you have the sequence, the ups and downs, kind of the roller coaster of the event, so that it makes sense when you make that offer and they've seen enough value throughout. But the second piece that you didn't explicitly say, but you said, is engagement. You keep everybody engaged throughout, right? You're giving them a little bit of instruction. You're giving them the engagement and application of what they've just learned. You're bringing them back a little bit more. They go back out to that. All of those little pieces are pattern interrupts. Okay. It breaks people out of their immediate way of thinking and forces them to refocus on what it is that you want them to focus on. I was going to say this for later, but it's kind of common knowledge at this point. When you're doing a virtual event, you want to have engagement opportunities roughly every 5 to 10 minutes throughout. Some people will even say as often as every 3 minutes. I think that's a little bit of overkill, but you can engage in subtle ways that aren't intrusive and over the top, right? Like I just asked you guys an overhead question, right? And now we're talking about it. This is engagement. I've asked you a polling question. That wasn't intrusive. It made sense for what we were doing. That is engagement. I've asked you guys to drop some things in the chat already. That is engagement, right? It doesn't always have to be, Steve, you got to come off of mute and I need you to give me a dissertation on the last 7 things that we talked about, what the value is and what your lessons learned, what you're going to like. Cool. But it's about subtle engagement throughout. You need to keep them along for the entire ride. Inevitably, it's going to happen. People will start to drop off for logical reasons. They have another meeting, emergency, whatever. But you can also tell when engagement is starting to wane because people will start to drop off, right? All right. So thank you for that, Mike. Anybody else have any other specific challenges that you want to kind of circle around today? Okay.
I think for me, one of the things is really bumping up the energy, right? When you're on Zoom, you really have to bring your energy so people feel engaged. And sometimes it feels a little disingenuous because that's just not how I talk.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that I've worked with, especially early days of COVID. I was working with Ernst & Young. They're a global tax and advisory firm. So most of the people that I was working with internally were tax advisors and financial advisors and insurance experts. And I don't mean to paint them all with a broad brush, but let's be honest, not necessarily the most exciting people all of the time. It was hard for them to bring that energy, right? But again, it doesn't always have to be over the top. Sometimes it is just getting excited, congratulating somebody. Sometimes it literally is just, hey, put that thing in the chat, right? And getting them to engage. It doesn't always have to be over the top energy. But to your point, here in virtual, you do have to be a little bit more over the top with your energy than you might be in person, because it doesn't all translate through the camera and through the microphone. So you need to be a little bit more with your energy, a little extra than what you otherwise might be. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Just gonna add to that. I think to me, it's always helped to think in terms of how would you talk to a large room from the front of the room? So you're projecting, not being disingenuous, because you're trying to reach the person in the back. This was hard for me to make that shift mentally, but sitting here talking to a camera with people on the screen, but really I'm trying to talk to somebody who's 50 feet in the back of the room.
That's right. You need to still kind of keep that projection presenter mindset here in the virtual, right? Because if you're sitting here and you're all mousy and you're not really getting your point out and you're not, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them quick, and you would lose them quick in a in-person event if you were presenting that way too, right? So you have to think through strategically how you are presenting here. Great ad, Joe. Thank you. All right, guys. So the top 3 challenges most people face when they are doing public virtual events for business development or paid virtual event. It is inviting and getting the right people to show up, sign up, pay for attendance. It is communicating and engaging in your event in a way that connects with that audience who has shown up for you. And the last one is following up, right? Even if it's a paid event, it probably is meant to lead towards a bigger ticket item for you. So follow-up and conversion strategy, post-event, selling the prospects, that is the third and probably even biggest challenge of the 3. Most people, they can put on a pretty good presentation. right? If they are a subject matter expert about the thing that they do, they can talk about the thing that they do in a fairly engaging way. They don't understand the tools, you can help with that. But the other two, the bookends, are usually the hardest part. You got to get the right people in your room for the message to even resonate. And if there's no follow-up or conversion strategy afterwards, you kind of have wasted your time, right? Like you have to have a reason for doing your event. And if it's not to convert them to a paid client, what is the point, right? And maybe it is just you want to have that exposure, you want to put value out, and that's okay, but you still should have a strategy for what happens after. There should be some call to action, and that call to action may be nothing more than, hey, connect with me on LinkedIn. And if that's your end goal, that's okay. All right, guys. So I see this stuff a lot, and we're going to talk kind of just real quickly about the virtual presence piece of it, right? Showing up on camera. I see a lot of people show up to their events with really blurry or grainy video. They don't frame themselves very well, right? Like you see half the top of their head cut off or the bottom of their face cut off, right? Like their audio sounds like they're talking through a fishbowl. Sometimes there's a terrible echo. There will oftentimes be long stretches of silence while they're trying to figure out what tool or how to maneuver through the tool that they're using, right? You don't want to be that person. So you want to be very strategic about how you show up here. You want your camera to be at or about eye level. You ideally want to look at it from time to time to simulate eye contact. You want to have your microphone at an appropriate distance from you so that it captures your audio clearly. Not all microphones are created equally. So I don't know what any of you have. I personally have a Blue Yeti microphone. The best positioning for me after about 6 hours of testing was to put it above me and not below me on my desk. So I have it inverted, it's upside down, and my Blue Yeti has a directional capability. So I have it coming just at my head. So it eliminates most of the background noise behind me. And then on top of that, Zoom has some background noise removal pieces. Point of me saying all of that is take the time to test your equipment because it was not all created equally. Okay. You may need to move where your camera is. You may need to adjust your lighting a little bit so you are lit properly. If you're wearing glasses directly in front of you, you should not have your light directly in front of you. You should have it about a 45-degree angle because the one thing that people with glasses struggle with is the reflection from those lights. Okay, so if you can have your lights at 45-degree angles when you're wearing glasses, you don't get that reflection. So those are some of the things that you need to strategically think through so that you can show up well in this space. Okay, so that all sounds familiar, right? You guys have seen a lot of that stuff, right? And nobody on here, I'll say, is framed improperly. Everybody's lit pretty well. Those of you who've come off of mute, you sound pretty good, right? But again, think through it. Take the time to record yourself. Listen back to your recording. Watch your recording like it's your game film, right? Like you're a football player or an athlete. You have to listen to your game film, watch your game film, so you can figure out what you're doing well and what you can do a little bit better. All right. So here's how most people screw up a virtual event. Most people don't take the time to really dial in who their audience is, who they want in the room, who their ICP is. Right now, I won't say that carpet bombing isn't a strategy that I personally have and do employ because it works. If you send the message out to enough people and it resonates with enough people, a few people will show up. We probably sent about 2,000 invites out for today's event. That netted me about 9 people in the room today. Okay. If I carpet bomb for a roundtable event that is targeting $5 to $50 million CEOs, I will be talking to an empty room. Right. So you really need to identify who that ICP is, as well as what the format for your event is. Okay, because most CEOs or executives of larger, we'll say medium and upsize organizations, they are not coming to free webinars, workshops, and masterclasses. Okay, they will come to a round table if they feel like they're going to get to rub elbows with some of their peers and they can contribute some value to that conversation, but they aren't usually going to come to a webinar just to see what's going on. Okay. Second thing, is you don't actually invest the time into marketing and messaging, creating the audience, nurturing that audience, and just telling people about your event. Right? Every opportunity, every engagement with someone is an opportunity to talk about your event. And it may not even resonate with the person that you're talking to directly, but they may know some people who it will resonate with and will tell them about it. People don't leverage their network. One thing that Tony helps me out with pretty regularly is inviting to some of my events. He is connected with people that I am not connected with. So if you have some people in your network that can be some strategic inviters for you, you do your event on LinkedIn, have them invite, you can now send 2,000 invites per week as opposed to 1,000 invites per week if you're doing that public event on LinkedIn.
I have a question. When you utilize people who are good at networking and pulling in invites, do you have a compensation thing? And I've worked with a couple of people like, hey, if you get people to the event and they sign up, then use like one of them was you get $1,000 back.
Yeah, that's a
And
really good question, Glenn. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It depends. So I would not compensate those partners based on people who show up or register to your event. But if you create some type of a referral partnership or what's the word I'm looking for? Affiliate type program, that type of situation could make sense in this. I have somebody that I worked with recently who was part of a VC group, right? A venture JV group, excuse me, joint venture group. And so several people within that group were inviting on her behalf. And then she had worked out deals with each of them. She had a high ticket sales item that for every sale, she would give them 20% or 30% of whatever the ticket was. So I'll say this. Always good to incentivize your partners if you can, right? Because obviously if they're going to make money by helping you, they're more likely to help you. But be careful about it and don't do it based on just shows or registration, because they could fill your room with a whole bunch of garbage and then you owe them money for the shows and registrations when you didn't actually make anything from it. Right. Cool. Last couple of things where people kind of screw up is they don't have any pre-event or post-event communication, right? When somebody registers, they should have some type of a messaging sequence. At bare minimum, you guys got an invite on LinkedIn and a single, maybe 2 follow-up messages through DM. Others of you may be on my email list and received some email communication from that perspective, right? But a lot of people miss that piece. They don't have their messaging strategy figured out for their event. And then the last one is just, it's a dumpster fire, right? They show up and again, everything is off and wrong and rough. Don't Zoom alone, guys. Don't Zoom alone. Okay, because all it takes is your internet blipping one time and you could lose your entire room, and getting them back is tough. So if you guys are here today, it is because I probably did something a little bit right in my marketing, right? My messages resonated with you guys a little bit. But let me tell you, if you're not getting the results that you want or thought you would or think that you will when you do your virtual event, it's not going to be because you're not trying. It won't be a lack of effort. That much I promise you, because I know you guys in the room today. It won't be that you don't desire to do a good job. Respectfully, it is going to be unconscious incompetence. You simply don't know what you don't know, and that's okay. It just means that it might be time to stop worrying about how you do all of this shit yourself and start thinking about who you get to help you, right? And it doesn't have to be me, to be honest with you. Okay. If you're going to do an event and your only option is a VA, I would rather have you go into that event with a VA who has some clue of what you're going to do than by yourself. Yeah. Susan. Yeah, that's right. When you learn the hard way, you know, and you don't do it alone again. Right. So what is the real cost of doing it by yourself from a time and dollars perspective, right? A lot of people think to themselves, I can just do it by myself. You know, I can set up the things, I can send the messages. It's no problem. Like, it's just a little bit of activity. I'm going to be working anyway. But inviting the right people to show up is probably the hardest part and does require the most time and effort. And that's oftentimes what people skip on, right? Who in the room would like to take a guess at about how many hours it takes to set up, market, run an event, tip to tail? If you've done it, obviously, then you have a reference point. But what do you think it should take if you're doing all of the things?
Well, for me, it depends on how long the event is. So I'll prepare 6 to 10 hours for a 2 hour event.
Absolutely. Right. And that's just in really the rehearsal, right? That's just preparing to deliver the content, right, John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So we're talking multiple hours just in rehearsal. What else? How many other hours do we have to spend, and what do we have to spend it on? What do you think?
Physically sending the invites out.
Yeah.
And then recording of, sometimes I record, this time I'm gonna just do a meme because they don't watch the video. But I record a video saying thank you, and then you see like you go into messengers, like 3 or 4 messages, it's all me saying thank you for registering, and then they don't show up. But creating that messaging, inviting
Yep.
people, creating the publicity, just even the Canva design, changing the dates on it, putting that on Zoom, putting it on Facebook, putting it on LinkedIn.
Yep. All of those little things take time to do. And I won't even tell you that if you work with me, I'll take all of those things off your plate. I can't do all of those things for you either. I can do a lot of them. I can help you with a lot of them. But the reality is, guys, in total time, whether I'm helping you or you're doing it all on your own, it's probably going to take you roughly around 40 hours to market and deliver a public event well. Okay, and that's a minimum of about 2 hours just for your tech setup, right? Making sure that your Zoom is set up properly, reviewing all of the settings, adding your polling questions, setting up your breakout rooms, right? Doing those things, setting up your LinkedIn event, all the little pieces that Mike just mentioned, right? You're probably going to spend somewhere between 4 and 6, maybe even as many 8, again, depending on how long your event is, rehearsing and practicing your presentation, testing the tech. And then a huge majority of that time is spent on outreach and messaging, right? I typically recommend 30 to 45 days runway for a public virtual event. And so if you are going to have 4-ish, 5-ish, 6-ish even weeks, and you're spending about 5 hours a week, right? Even 5 hours a week, 5 weeks, that's 25 hours right there, right? And then on top of that, you have your follow-up post-event. Okay. So I think you guys know at this point, running your own virtual event, it's not just logging into the Zoom and talking at the camera, right? There's other stuff that you're going to have to do. And if you are doing it right, again, you're going to spend at least an hour a day doing that outreach and connecting with people and inviting people, sending the follow-up messages, the registration messages. Some of that stuff can be automated, of course, but the first time you set it up, you have to set it all up manually, and that takes time to do. Most people truly do underestimate the amount of time that they have to invest to do a webinar well. I used to like to play Eminem's song. I think it's Lose It right here, right? You only get one shot, right? Like I thought it was impactful and it was kind of fun and funny. People always giggled a little bit, but the reality is you get more than one shot. Like you can do lots of virtual events. You can mess stuff up and do it again. The only risk, of course, is that the experience that you give the people who did show up to the one that you did that was a little bit rough, they may not show up to another, right? You may burn some of those. But if you're a trial and error kind of person, you absolutely can do it. You can figure it out on your own. It just takes time to do all of the stuff. So with that said, I want you guys to consider something. I want you to do a little bit of back of the napkin math for yourselves. Does everybody have a number in mind, approximate number of how much you charge per hour? Everybody know about what they bill at an hourly rate? Yeah. So again, I told you, it takes about 40 hours to do a virtual event right. You have your hourly number. Pop in the chat if you're willing, if you're open to sharing that. What is that number for you? What is the time dollar cost on a virtual event for you? And if you don't want to share, that's okay too. But I see a couple of you looking at the screen. You're like, didn't think it was like that.
I said, wow.
Right. And that's what you have to think through. Again, there's so many little pieces to all of this stuff that it's not your area of expertise. It's not your wheelhouse. It's mine, right? But if you have to invest your time to do it, not only is it costing you what you could be making while doing something in your lane, now you're going to struggle to do it. It's difficult to do. It's not something that is in your zone of genius. So not only are you going to lose money by doing it, you're going to struggle through it. You are literally paying to give yourself more problems. And that just doesn't make sense. Right. All right, Shane. So I already verbally said that. We didn't drop that in the chat, so we don't have to. We can move past that. But I don't guarantee attendance at my events, guys. I don't. I can't help you close sales after the event. Like literally, I cannot join your sales calls with you. So I don't guarantee sales as a result of doing a virtual event with me either. But what I can say is that I do have clients who do regular events, and they see 50 to 100 people register every event. They do 10 to 20. They do have 10 to 20 people show up to their events. They schedule 5 to 10 follow-up conversations after the event, and they regularly close 1 to 2 sales post-event, sometimes more, like friggin' clockwork. So if you're not already doing virtual events, if you could stand in a room with 10 to 20 of your ideal prospects who raised their hand and said, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about the thing you talk about, you can meet with them, you can talk with them, you can give them something of value. How many do you think you can close? And how much is one sale worth to you? Right? Something to consider when you're doing your events, because if you can fill that room with 20 people and you can get your conversion to that point with these events, you can literally create a revenue engine for yourself. And it's freaking amazing. So nobody asked in the room, but I'm going to answer the question anyway. What is online event consulting? What does a virtual producer do aside from, looking at Shane looking cute up in the top right corner of your screen there? It's a whole lot more than pushing buttons, right? Although pushing the buttons on event day is obviously part of what we do. A producer or an online event consultant is going to help to direct your overall event strategy. Again, yes, we do manage the tech, but we also consult on the marketing strategies. We help you to map out your event for engagement, right? We want to tweak the content, not so it changes your message, but so that people lean into it throughout the course of the conversation you're having with them. We coach the speaker to have that better virtual presence, right? Some of the tips that I gave you guys in here. And then we help to create the strategy and structure for that event so that you get to show up and shine without having all the stress. We have packages ranging from 600 as a start to 5,000, one-on-one coaching over multiple weeks to just strictly we'll show up to your event and run the back of the house for you. But again, this isn't about me selling you. It's about whether or not it makes sense to continue the conversation. So with that said, if you have a captive audience, make sure you have someone helping you because they're already paying you to be there. Okay. But if I can be of support or service to you, I'm here for you guys. So here's the meat and potatoes, the engagement tactics. I mentioned this piece earlier. Event format is super important. You need to think about who your audience is before you design the content and the presentation. Okay. Because if you're doing, again, a roundtable as an example, you're not going to be doing a whole lot of presenting and screen sharing. It's about asking questions and having a conversation. In order to get a CEO to show up, that's the type of event you have to put on. Whereas if you're looking for the DIY crowd for your product or services, your standard webinar or workshop works amazingly well. But you have to think about what your event format looks like for the audience you're trying to connect with. Then the other piece is all the tools, right? Again, the polling questions, the chat prompts, the annotations and the whiteboards, playing music, playing videos, doing breakout rooms. All of those pieces have value, but strategically think about where you put them in. Because if you show up to your event and put 20 polling questions in an hour-long presentation, I'm out. People aren't going to hang out for that, right? Again, strategic. You want to keep them flowing throughout the conversation. I think that pretty much wraps up everything but the case study. So one client that I've worked with, her name is Allison Simmons. A couple of you, I think, actually may know her. She invested about $3,000 with us running 6 events. She has her marketing engine pretty well dialed in. So she just uses my DIY Copilot package, right? Literally, we just show up and run her events. Over the course of the events that she's run, she has generated over $30,000 in revenue through her coaching program. That includes about a dozen signups for a program, VIP upgrades. One of those signups actually came from a completely cold lead. Lady found her post on LinkedIn, came to the event, booked the follow-up call, and immediately signed up for her program. But she has generated close to $30,000 in revenue from just that $3,000 investment, right? We really dialed in everything she's doing. But what really changed everything for her was that beyond her events, we were able to get her sold into an association here in Michigan that I'm affiliated with. And they're now paying her $8,000 just to show up and deliver a 2-hour workshop. And that opportunity alone has been a real game changer for her, and all just as a result of dialing in how she shows up in this virtual space. And the opportunity isn't exclusive to Allison, right? People are hungry to learn. People don't show up for stuff they're not interested in. So if they're showing up to your stuff, it's because they're interested in the things that you're talking about. Right. And I won't say that these type of results I've got with Allison are, totally typical, right? They're not, right? Not everybody is going to get on paid stages, but they could be if you focus on it. If it's an avenue that you actually want to pursue, it could be in your future. So with that, guys, I'm going to give you a few minutes back in your day. And obviously, if you want to ask any questions, I'm open to fielding any of those. But Shane's going to drop my contact information in the chat, right? So we have the scheduling link. We have the YouTube channel if you guys want to go back and check out any of the previous audience alchemies to pick up any more specific tips. And then lastly, the GPT, right? So the title brainstormer bot. So those will be in the chat here if they're not already. There it is. And I think I can open up to questions at this point. Yeah. What questions you guys have? How was that? Good? Because I usually do use a deck, so felt a little
better without the deck, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's better without the deck because we can see each other and the expressions are there. So yeah, well done.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I just got a few ideas. I was going to say, I got a few ideas on what to do as far as you come back from that second breakout room. Said there are levels to this. So before I present any offer, there are 3 levels: the basics, the essentials, and then world-class speaking. The basics is what you just got. The essentials is the $40, and world-class speaking, we're going to have to get on a call. So you got to preview what the offer is going to be. Just by the way you talked about it, I could see that happening.
Yep, absolutely. Good takeaway, Mike.
Thanks.
Steve?
Yeah, I was just put a chat, gave you kudos of our meeting we did last February for the case study team at Harvard.
Yeah,
and I got a great message back. They'd never seen a Zoom call presentation so well done. And I thought to myself, they've seen a lot of presentations before. And so it was so good to have that. And it's, I don't know if I definitely would reach out to you if I did one again. And I know that it's important to do. So it's something I wouldn't do alone again. So I never did it the first time. So it was great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an experience I don't necessarily recommend if you haven't had one yet. Dumpster fires are no good when you have to manage it by yourself. I'll tell you that.
No.
Yeah.
And so, Bernie, this here is really more focused on larger group style or type of virtual events, correct?
Yeah, this one is I would say is more for an audience where you probably have 8 to 10, right? You start to get a little bit bigger group, but a lot of the same frameworks will work with a small audience, right? Just because you have 3 people in the room doesn't mean you can't run a polling question, right? We ran a couple yesterday in your event. Just because it's only 3 people doesn't mean you can't have them reflect in the chat, right? There is value to writing out a thought versus just speaking a thought and vice versa. So a lot of the engagement techniques are the same. I think that the big difference is in this case, you have a curated audience, right? You brought the audience together for the purposes of this presentation. Whereas what we talked about more in this case is a public facing event where you're trying to fill your program.
Okay, understood. Okay, yeah, because I was gonna starting in at the end of January, do a sort of like what you're talking about, a free just
Yep.
2 hour like summit style event to
Yep.
get the leads for the actual 10-week cohort program. And we can talk. I'll definitely want to have you on that. That'll be a once a month deal. And we could talk offline about kind of what's happening with this group. I have to share some additional back end details with you, but this was amazing. I definitely enjoyed the effortlessness of everything yesterday on our session. It was amazing. I got a lot of great feedback, and my heart is just breaking that I cannot utilize you again on the 29th, but I am going to take your tips and implement that and try to see if I could get some support on these next sessions.
Yeah, I would be shocked if a couple of the folks that you are networking with, Marlo, wouldn't volunteer to be that pseudo producer for you, just to kind of back you up. But
Okay.
yeah, definitely don't, if you can help it, don't do it alone. It's not very intricate
Yes.
what we've got planned, but I would avoid doing it alone if you can. And I'm always here for you whenever you need me. You know that.
Yes, I'll be calling you very soon again. Trust me.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Susan, Joe, anybody else? Clara, any questions, comments? Angry outbursts are actually okay as well. They're kind of fun sometimes. So if something I said really pissed you off, please say so. No. All right. Well, guys, I am very glad and honored that you joined today. Thank you so much for sharing some time with me. I will give you 10 minutes back in your day and expect some follow-up messages. If I can be of service or support to you in your events, don't hesitate to reach out.
Bernie, thank you.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure, Steve. Enjoy the day, guys.